Hello again from Sprott Money and SprottMoney.com. It is June 2025. It is time for your Ask the Expert segment. And we're going to have some fun this month. I'm your host, Craig Hemke, and joining us is everybody's favorite said expert and everyone's favorite retiree, Eric Sprott himself. Eric, my old friend, good to see you.
Hey, Craig, great to be here. I think it's a bit of an understatement to say that we're having a good month. I mean, we're having one of the greatest years of all time, okay? And it seems to want to just keep going. So instead of you and I being the two guys complaining at the Muppet Show from the balcony, we can maybe have smiles on our faces now. Say, well, I told you so, right?
I almost have like, what do they call that? Stockholm syndrome or something like that. You know, we've been
Yeah.
held hostage for so long that you don't quite know.
Well,
We're Patty
it's
Hearst.
funny. When I review my time with the gold space, I actually say, look, I started this in 2000, exactly at the bottom of gold, okay, because the market was about to crash in Nasdaq, and I got into gold stocks. And I said, and I've had to fight the manipulation for 25 years,
Yeah.
and it ended in gold at 2000, and I think it's over in silver now at $35. Now that we're at 37. So it's been a 25-year fight. We all know about the guys messing around in COMEX and the fact that the COMEX price of gold would probably, if you just traded COMEX every day, they'd probably be about $100 an ounce. But if
Right.
you traded out of COMEX, it'd probably be 50,000 an ounce. It just tells you what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Anyway, we'll get into it.
Well, yeah. First, just a little bit of a good word about the company that bears your name, Sprott Money, who pays for all this stuff, puts it out there, has to have the production crew, everything else. Thank them by visiting SprottMoney.com, keeping them in mind every time you're in the market for some physical metal. Oh, and if you buy enough of it, you got to have a place to store it. Right now at SprottMoney.com, they've got great specials on storage, safe storage as well. So please go to that site, sprottmoney.com. Give them a call, 888-861-0775. And be sure to like, subscribe on whatever channel you're watching because there'll be more content coming this month and next. But anyway, as for the current content, my old friend, yeah, since the last time we spoke, which was right at the end of last year, so this is kind of a little mid-year update. Gold's off to this fantastic start to the year that, I mean, even I didn't see it starting this strong. And silver now is catching up as well after lagging. Let's just start there. Your general
Sure,
thoughts on what's driving all of this.
sure. Well, as you know, I'm a disciple of Michael Oliver's at MSA Consulting. And I think he's been so right on what to expect in the metals. And he was so good on gold and the gigantic move we had. And of course, he's been pounding the table on silver that silver is going to, break through 35. And when it breaks through 35, it's going to be a run of, 3 to 5 months to get to 50, potentially 60 and 70 this year. This year. So even from here, let's take his upside target. Oh my God. If silver ever went to $70 and the average silver producer's $20 cost, which is high, he's making $50 an ounce of silver. Do we know how much these stocks are going to go up by?
Yeah,
Because at $25, the guy probably didn't even make $5. And now he's making 30. He's making 6 times as much. Or at $70, he's making whatever that is, uh, 800% more money. So like it's just mind-boggling things that can happen. If you make 800% more, your stock can go up 800%. Your stock could go up 800% in a year if it went to 70, you know?
yeah,
And it's the same with the gold. Every time I look at a gold producer, I think, oh my God, the little ones, it's trading at 1 times next year's cash flow. One.
mhm,
When's the market going to catch up to this? And when I look at these stocks, when I look at any stock these days, if somebody told me it's going to go up 5 times, I say, well, I'm not interested in that. I want a 10 bagger or a 20 bagger. And of course, I'm assuming the prices go up and stay up. And even in the case of gold, I don't even have to assume they're going to go up. They're already up.
right.
When I look at the difference in margins today at $3,400 gold versus 2000, it's stunning. He's probably making 15 times more profit. 15. And the stocks really have not reacted as wholesomely as they could and will do because people are just starting to focus in on it. It's the one best performing group for sure. I think I read that the weighting of stocks, uh, gold stocks in the in all portfolios is something like 0.25%. Okay.
Right,
And somebody
right,
saying,
right.
well, maybe you should have. And by the way, I have 90%. Okay. Just so everybody knows. Uh, and that percentage is going up fast these days because my cash ain't giving me nothing. And I don't have much cash, needless to say. But, you know, uh, but somebody's saying, well, you should have 2% in gold, which of course is a flimsy little participation. To get 2%, quite frankly, the stock's got to go up 8 times because there's probably hardly any net new issuance because, yes, the smaller companies are doing issues. The bigger companies are buying their shares back. And they're probably spending more money buying the shares back than the little companies are raising money because they're cash flowing $1 billion a quarter. And they all got stock buybacks and dividends and things like that. So anyway, I'd say it's the pool of stocks is shrinking. And we want it. We want people to have 8 times more in stocks. Well, how the hell are you going to do that? You got
Yeah,
to drive the price up by 8 times.
yeah.
That's to get the 2%. When the average guy should be 10 or 20%.
Regarding the metals themselves,
Yep.
Eric, it's, there's a lot of people that that think maybe the banks that have kind of managed the price for all these decades, once we broke out above 2000, just finally said we can't do this anymore. And I look, I track the commitment of traders every week. Since February, the rally has been driven by commercial short squeezing, by commercials buying. The
Mm.
speculative position has been cut in half. It's the commercials that have been driving it by covering their shorts. There's thought now the same thing, we might be on the brink of that in silver. What do you think of that?
Yeah. Well, I think we are, and I do believe that it's been manipulated for the last 40 or 50 years. We see that. Look at we know that 8 banks have most of the shorts. Well,
Yeah,
why banks? Why only 8? Why that big? I mean, there's no logical reason for it other
right.
than it was a market that they could mess around in because of their sheer size and uh, working together, working together. And now they realize that, which they saw happen in gold. Oh my God, people really want to buy this stuff, and they're buying it from us, and we don't have enough gold anymore. And we all know that in silver we've had a 200 million ounce shortage for the last 4 years. We'll have one again this year. People are taking gold off the COMEX and silver off the COMEX every day on the COMEX. Every day, the spot month trades some amount of metal that gets asked for delivery the next day. This never happened before. You and I have been around this. There were never any deliveries. Now
Right,
there's massive deliveries all the time.
right.
And who's buying it? Well, I presume that they just have to buy it to cover their damn short. So I think silver, as Michael says, is probably going to go to 50 very quickly here, 3 to 5 months. It can blow through here. I've never believed in the 100 to 1 ratio between gold and silver. Ever believed in it. Why did that happen? It's produced 8 to 1. It's in the Earth's crust, something like 10 to 1. Historically, as a currency was 15 to 1. Why is it at 100 to 1? Why was it at 100 to 1? Because someone was manipulating it and suppressing it because it's a very important metal, silver, very important, particularly for the military. All those missiles that are being firing off around the world, they consume a lot of silver. And there's so many other uses. There's no sense me going into it. Everyone knows about that. But I think we're in a shortage situation in silver, and God knows how high it could go. If Michael's Oliver, I think his target on gold is 8,000, the way outside target. Well, if you went to 15 to 1, what would that be? Like $200,
So,
$400, something like that.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a big number.
Those are, yeah, that's a very big number. Yeah, and I know again, you've been an advocate of this for so long. Um, that investment driver that you mentioned is probably something we should touch upon because there's this theme out there that somehow just because the price has gone up in gold, it's a crowded trade and the
Yeah,
price and it's overbought. But yet, in terms of, I mean, because you interact with
yeah,
financial advisors, and big sell side and investment houses and stuff like that. Do you sense there's any, call it mainstream involvement in the precious
Well,
metals yet?
I'm pretty certain they're looking because, and I've said this many times to you and then your listeners, um, if every day the computer spits out and says the best performing group was precious metals, next day, precious metals,
Yeah.
after a while, even the analyst who's reading this, and they go, well, what's with this precious metal stuff here? The fact that I don't even is silver up 50% this year and gold's up 50, over 50%, something like that. I don't know what the hell the numbers are, but it's big numbers, okay, in a rather difficult stock market. And they will all come around. We see it now in one sense. When there are issues done for these smaller companies, they're very well subscribed, if not massively oversubscribed. So they're out there, okay, looking in. And when it comes to the metals, you know that the metal supply of gold only goes up 1% a year. One.
Right.
How the hell does somebody, come in and buy more gold when there's only 1% more gold that year? You don't get many guys in, okay? And as I just went through with the stocks might not even be growing, the number of shares that you can buy. They might be
Mhm.
shrinking. So it's not easy to get in. And that's why one can imagine we could see like outer worldly gains here. We've already seen it in lots of stocks, okay? I can't believe the number of times. Oh, gee, I think I have shares in that company. Let's go look and see what it's doing. Oh my God, it doubled. Some name I haven't even looked at in 5 years. And in the
Right.
last two
Forgot you
months, it's
owned.
doubled, right? And I can see why people are going there because people are getting interested in all kinds of metals too. Platinum, palladium,
Yeah.
rhodium, I hear about gallium,
Copper.
germanium, all kind of copper. I mean, there's a move to get into these things. So it's a great time for us right now, and I think we'll have lots of days in the sunshine.
Yeah, yeah, again, yeah, you just wonder about just simple diversification because I've seen those stats too. I think it's Bank of America that puts them out.
Yeah,
You know what? 95% of all financial advisors have a less than 1% exposure for their clients in the precious
right,
metals.
right. Yeah,
Where
yeah,
where do you think? I mean, we've had this terrific run. Things, like Agnico is maybe tripled.
yeah.
I've got, there are others out there that keep their costs low, and so their
Sure.
margins keep widening.
Yeah.
I would think there's, price continues higher for gold, they're just going to continue to just print money every quarter. Where is the, where's the, in your mind,
Yeah.
is it, is the sweet spot now still with those big producers? Is it now moving more toward the juniors that maybe have lower costs? Are we ready exploration companies yet? Where are we?
Yeah. Well, when you get a big move in the metal prices, which we've had in gold already, and we're experiencing now in silver, the best performing companies are the worst companies, the ones that everyone hated.
Yeah.
In fact, I had my controller phone me. It was, Eric, you lent some money and invested in this company called whatever it was called. Okay. And I'm thinking, yeah. And they had a resource, didn't they? I think they might have had 1,000,000 ounces. And this is probably 15 years ago,
You're
right? It's
like,
probably
I
1 gram,
remember
one
that
gram,
one.
or 1 or 2 grams. I said, oh my God, well, that 1 gram, that would be profitable today.
Right.
Yeah, we better dust that file up. Let's look at that.
Wait a second.
Oh my God. Yeah, because the guy that's pretty, has the lowest grade, he's the guy benefiting most by the price going up.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
He
yeah.
gets the most bang for the buck. So yeah, we're all moving down cap. Don't you worry. I mean, I would never own a big cap stock. Okay, that's just my thing because I think there's always more value in the smaller ones because they're neglected. And anything that's neglected is creating opportunities for you as an investor because people aren't adjusting to what's going on. I had a stock. I'm not going to mention the name, but he did a PEA and said his NAV was 300 million US at 1980 gold. At 2280, it went up by 200 million to 500. I said, well, I'm thinking 2280, it's 3380 right now.
Right.
That's five more of those changes, okay? It could be worth 2 billion now, and the market cap was 100 million. Then I'm saying, well, that's an extra 2 billion, by the way. Now I got him up to 3 billion. There's a 30 bagger. And that's before the price of silver goes to $50 or gold goes higher. So there's so many opportunities out there in these smaller companies that nobody's paying any attention to. And I know I continue to buy those kinds of stocks all the time.
What's the most? I just in like hey, I want to kind of follow what Eric Sprott does. What are the most important things that you look at? Is it how you measure the ounces in the ground, or what are your key
Well,
metrics?
you know what I say it, and I know management always hates me when I said this. I said the most important things about precious metal company is the deposit.
Yeah,
That's the most important
the
thing.
resource itself.
The second thing is the price of the product and its outlook. Where's silver and gold going? And then I say, and maybe third is the management. But if you don't have the deposit and the metals aren't working for you, you're not going to accomplish much. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the two most important things. And unfortunately, a lot of managements, well, they take themselves pretty seriously, right? And they don't know where the price is going, and they think, well, that's up to the market to determine. No, you should know where the price is going. It's pretty important, you know. Should you be making that acquisition? Well, where do you think the price of gold's going to be?
You would think.
You better have a view, and not just some, well, we use conservative pricing over here. Okay, fine. You keep using your conservative price. I'll buy the stock. You can
I'll
buy it
buy
from
the
me later.
stock for you.
Anyway, so yeah,
So,
I think you can go down cap here now, okay? And you can buy things that look like they're going to be uneconomic 2 years ago that almost guaranteed are economic today. And maybe no one's even looking at them. So there'll be lots of opportunities like that. I haven't really gone down there hunting yet, but I do know that many's the time I said, okay, to let's say somebody, just give me a list of the size of deposits that people have. I want to know who's got the big deposits. So, for example, Highcroft, that I just participated in their issue, they got about 1 billion ounces of silver equivalent. I think it could get to 2 billion, and it was really low grade. I think it's like zero point 0.4 gold, and I forget how many grams of silver it is, but it was low grade. But I'm sure it's profitable now.
yeah.
With these prices where they are. And of course, now you got 1 billion ounces, and the market cap was 100 million, and you got potentially 2 billion ounces of silver that you can probably sell for 20 billion a profit now, and your market cap's 100. What am I missing here?
Yeah, I see the math on
That's a
that one.
200 bagger, okay?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm following the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's probably using today's price of silver, not the $50 or 60 or 70, I imagine, and higher and higher. You don't have to pay big prices to get in this game. That's a levered game. It's a levered game to the upside, all in your favor, in my mind.
How confident are you? Just in price, because it got like differing views make a market. I see people on Twitter all day long that say, "Oh,
Yeah,
gold's got to come back to its 200-day
yeah,
moving average," and
yeah.
this kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm more confident in silver, okay, because I
Okay,
see the shortage. Okay, there's 200 million ounce shortage. I see no increase in production. I
right.
see taking long times to get approval for new mines. I see that only 25% of this are silver mines. Most of the silver is produced from non-silver mines. So, and I see these uses when I think of what's going on in the solid state batteries that they're going to use in electric vehicles. And I think when they prove their merit, i.e., you can go 1,000 kilometers and it takes you, 10 minutes to fill it. I think it's going to change the whole economics of the electric vehicle here, and it's all metal, right? And it's lots of different metals. So the outlook for silver is just astounding when I think of all the solar applications, the battery applications, the battery storage applications. We're going to be lots of people are going to be storing more electricity now, and that takes up a lot of metals. So I'm quite excited about the fundamentals for silver, and I can fall back on it used to trade at 15 to 1. It is produced 8 to 1. Why was that at 100 to 1?
Yeah.
There is no, and when you go to the COMEX, there's 8 big banks short all the metal. It's just screaming at you that there's something kooky going on here. And look how fast it's corrected itself. I think even the silver ratio might be down to 90 to 1 now already,
Hmm.
you know. And
Hmm.
if it gets to 50, we'll be down to whatever, 60 to 1 or something. So
What's the best way for, I mean, we'll get into the stocks a little bit in a second.
yeah,
For just, average regular people,
yeah.
like
I
me
look
and
at
others.
here. I have
Physical?
bought I bought a lot of ETFs. Okay. I bought the
Okay.
SIL. I like the SIL-J, the
Hmm.
junior silver stocks. I own a lot of junior silver stocks, okay? But there's a lot of liquidity in SIL-J. Like I can buy $4 million worth in a day and I don't move the stock. If I want to go buy a junior mining stock, like forget it. Just put a bid on the floor for 10,000 shares and it'll be up 10%.
Yeah.
And everybody will be front running you, by the way.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
the other funny thing about our markets, right?
Right.
The stock markets don't function well. And that's why we've all gone to ETFs because you can trade them in size. You don't move them around that much, or you don't distort the pricing. So I tend to buy that. I also own GDX. I own Nugget. That's the levered.
Mhm.
Uh, just a second. I got to take a call here and get him off. Sorry.
Just
Um,
another,
I like
there's
Nugget.
another 20% position you just built. They're letting you know about.
That's the levered gold index is Nugget. It trades off of the GDX. So I like buying those things because they're tradable.
You
You're not
still
going to
own the,
distort price.
you still own the Sprott physical
Yes,
funds?
yes, I own a lot. Sprott Physical Silver Fund, Sprott Silver Equities. Those two are the ones that I own pretty big. Yes,
People say, oh, that stuff's custodianed at the Royal Canadian Mint and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't bother you, does it?
I don't mind the Royal Canadian Mint at all. No, I
Yeah.
think it's a good place. I'd much rather have it there than a bank, by the way, whose
Correct.
job seemingly is to manipulate the price of silver and gold.
Correct.
Yeah.
And again, there's so many unallocated programs out there. There are, silver certificate programs out there. Um, get your hands on the actual deal, right? Get
Oh
the
yeah.
physical and then store it in a place, if you don't want to keep too much of it
Yeah.
on hand, you got to find a
Yeah.
nice, safe place to store it too.
Yeah.
Um,
I buy a lot of silver from Sprott Money.
they
And
cut you, do they cut
one
you a
of the
discount?
things
They,
I
they,
don't think they do, they say they do, but they probably
man,
don't.
my guy can't get a break. Can't you show him do you have like an AARP, like a CARP card or anything like that up there?
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't think I get anything. But and by the way, when you buy a lot of silver, it's not easy to move because it's heavy.
Right,
You
right,
know, very heavy quickly.
right, for
So
sure.
anyway,
All right, I know everybody they used to love when we'd visit every week and talk about, certain mining shares and stuff
sure,
like that.
sure,
Um, there's so many of them that are
yeah,
doing well. I don't
yeah,
even know where to start. I'll ask you about this one because this one I know this has come up the last
yeah,
couple of times we've spoken. We've
mhm,
discussed free gold.
yeah,
That's been perking up as of late.
yeah. I love free gold. I love the fact that in my mind they have 30 million ounces. Okay, they said it was 22, but they said we'll get 72% recovery. But they've already said they can get 90% recovery using some other method. So they shouldn't have taken that 28% of all the gold off. So I think they really have 30 million ounces. And that's before the recent drilling. And the recent drilling has been very, very good. And there's no way that this is the biggest undeveloped deposit in the developed world, undeveloped deposit in the developed world.
Gotcha.
Um, so somebody's going to come by and do it. Uh, I actually went to a gold company as sort of a representative of free gold, and I said, of course, they think they're trying to sell them the shares of Freegold. What? I'd like to buy your mill. I'll buy your mill from you, okay?
What they say.
Because we can turn this ore body with that mill, we can turn that into a lot of money.
They,
Oh,
di- they
oh,
didn't offer you
never,
their mill?
never thought of it that way. Oh my! You imagine they could take a deposit that big and say, now instantly we have a mill.
Yeah.
We're going into production in a month, sort of thing. Crazy. Anyway.
There would-
So no, that's great. It's great, and it'll probably end up at 40 million ounces someday, maybe higher. Not too far from now. They're spending a lot of time on trying to figure what's the best way of getting the gold out of the rock, and they'll figure that out. And it'll probably be north of 90% recovery, which would be great. So that's great. I went down to see a Newfound yesterday in Newfoundland.
That's what I was going to ask you. That was my next thing on my
Yeah.
list.
I mean, I'm always stunned that it got as low as it got. I know they had huge problems with one, short sellers, two, the regulator, and it never should have happened. In fact, I'm meeting a guy today who's an expert in 43101s. Because we saw 43101 in Canada here. The company was called Amex. They had a 43101 done and it came out at, it came out at X ounces. Okay. And then they said, well, we don't like the way that guy did it, because he did it in a broad thing. We're bringing all this low grade stuff around here. Let's just focus on the high grade stuff that we're going to mine. And he then he did a little bit of drilling, but it was only 8 months later. He had a new 43101 and it had 170% more ounces.
Hmm.
So they were always there. Or they weren't
Mhm.
properly counted. I'm going out to lunch with a geostatistical guy today, mining geostatistics. I'm going to explore that. And I think that that is somewhat of a problem because all these guys want to be conservative.
Yeah,
They-
right.
You know, they like everyone's conservative, conservative.
Yeah.
Here's the funny part about the 43101. Probably comes out of half of what it should be. And then the street says, well, they say they got two, but we're not going to count two. We'll only count 75% of that.
Yeah.
And then, the price of gold's at 3,300. We're not going to use 3,300. We're going to use 2,200 or something.
Right.
And by the time you've finished, things disappeared and it's uneconomic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you've been cheated all the way through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Is there, regarding Newfoundland,
yeah.
certainly seems like there's a lot of metal there. Is there a economic factor like we
Yes.
talked about because
Oh,
prices
for
are higher?
sure. For sure. Look, I think they're going to try to do a bulk sample there. And when they do a bulk sample and the gold's right at surface, they got the surface peeled away already.
Yeah.
It's going to be the easiest damn thing in the world. I hope they could get maybe pushing half an ounce. So if you could do a 50,000 ton bulk sample, you get 25,000 ounces. That's worth $75 million US. No, check that 85 million today US. That's about 120 Canadian. So they probably make 60 or 70 million dollars with a
Right there.
little bulk sample
Yeah.
at surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they'll do that and they'll pay their way into building their own mill in time. It's a 110-kilometer property. They've shown on the top 12 kilometers, they got probably 12 different places they found high grade gold. So it's there. There's no doubt it's going to be big. They've had some teething problems here, um, convincing the market of what they have. But I think we'll solve. We have a new chairman, a new CEO. Uh, those are both guys that I've worked with before who I wanted to be there. So and another director was appointed, new Chad Williams, who runs Red Cloud. So I think we have a pretty good team there that's going to right the ship.
You're patient in that
Well,
regard.
patience pays off. That's one
Yeah.
of the
Well,
great attributes you have to have in this stupid business,
right.
right?
You're
Everything takes so long. It takes 10 years,
right.
15 years.
Right.
Holy jumping.
That
Yeah.
the newfound room is the one that you're partying. You're still in there by yourself while the party's going on
Yeah.
elsewhere. That old
Yeah. Yeah.
metaphor you used to have.
Well, I've
Um,
been lucky on some stocks. Like I was a big owner of Discovery Silver, and they
yeah,
ended up buying the Timmins property from Newmont. The stock was trading at like 60 cents. It's at 360 now. That all happened in 6 months.
yeah.
I
Tony's an
owned
old friend of
I
yours.
owned 20% of it, and I still own about 20 because I did participate in the issue. So that's been a nice one.
But Tony McCooch is an old friend of yours.
Tony is the
You certainly
CEO. Oh
like him.
yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah,
So I
yeah.
would imagine that lends a lot of confidence.
Yeah. There's a lot of even Free Gold Ventures. I was reminded by Christina, who's the CEO, that when I first bought it in 2019, I paid 6 cents a share,
Oh gosh.
Canadian. And it's a buck 20. It's a 20 bagger.
Goodness
And I
gracious.
hope to get 10 more bags from here. But so then you multiply the 20 times 10, it would be a 200 bagger if it worked out.
That's a lot of laps around the
That's
bases
that's how you make money.
for sure. Let's just spend a little more time with silver.
Sure.
And then we'll get you out of here. Because I just think of all the conversation we've had over the years, and you've been just pounding the drum. The silver's going to go higher. Silver's going to. I want to own silver. I want to own silver miners, but silver miners are hard to find because there aren't a lot of just primary silver miners, and that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Where do you stand with some of those? You've got some that you got your eye on? Anything you want to tell us about?
Well, of course, my biggest one was Discovery because of the Cordero property in Mexico. I own Chesapeake that's got the Metates property in Mexico. that's like a 16 million ounce equivalent, except really a silver operation. It's not a mine yet, it's just an ore body. They might have some land issues down there. They say they have some a technique for getting the gold out of the ore that would save them, instead of having to pay 3.6 billion for a plant, they could pay 368 million. Now, it's unknown if that's factual or not, but that's what they're saying. I own Highcroft, of course, which is in Nevada, which also has like a billion ounces equivalent of silver on their way, I believe, to 2 billion. It's low grade, but at these kind of silver prices, I mean, the economics are improving every day.
Yeah.
We've had gold go up almost 100% from 2 years ago, and silver is now probably pushing up 100% from
Yeah.
two
Getting
years ago,
close. Hmm.
18 to 37, that sort of thing. So and these look like junky deposits, but as I say, those are the best things to own when the price is going up. They're the ones who, when they throw the extra profit on the table, it will be a multiple increase in profitability because of the grade issues they had when the prices were
Hmm.
continuing to be suppressed.
Hmm.
But now they're not.
Yeah. How do you measure? I mean, what's the best way for the average person out there to do their homework and try to find some of those?
Cost per ounce.
Okay.
Okay. So if Hycroft was 100 million and they had a billion, it cost you 10 cents an ounce.
That's pretty hard
Well,
to argue
how do you
with.
get to buy silver at 10 cents an ounce, and when it's trading
Right.
at $37? And by the way, free gold, you can probably buy the gold in the ground for $20 an ounce, and that's trading at
Yeah.
$3,400.
Hmm.
It's ridiculous. If you have a belief that these are great things to own, that they should trade at those low values per ounce. And who's to say that they're not going to find more? I mean, free gold could double their resource in time. Uh, um, Hycroft is into some high grade silver down there that they've just found. And as the price goes up, by the way they calculate the resource, you bring more tons in with lower grade, which therefore increases your ounces when you get to use a higher price for gold and silver. Maybe the billion ounces would go to a billion and a half just because the price is higher, and that
Hmm.
stuff that you said was uneconomic is now economic.
Hmm.
That you were going to throw away as waste, but you had to mine it, but you're going to throw it away. Now you're going to process it, so it's now an economic resource. Lots of good things can happen when prices go up.
Well, in the end, is that ultimately what we need? I mean, do we need silver to break out to new all-time highs so that there are
For
investment dollars
sure.
that come chasing?
Yeah, I don't even like to think about the real silver shortage we might have, the world might have. I don't even want
Yeah.
to think about it. It's a problem. Things can stop without silver. We've already eaten through 800 million ounces of above ground inventory. We don't have that much more to go. And I wouldn't be surprised that maybe even the governments nationalize the silver, not the mines. They shouldn't nationalize the mines because you need entrepreneurs to run mines. But they might say, okay, we got to take all the silver back, and just like they confiscated the gold, maybe they'll confiscate the silver. Who knows? I don't know. But we're just running things in the ground economically here. These governments and their ridiculous fiscal policies. It's just
Yeah.
ridiculous what we're doing. And you got to pay for that stuff, right? There's so many burdens on people that they have to fund this machine, this spending. Oh my God, it's just crazy, crazy out of control.
Right. Oh,
So
we've made that case for over a decade, you and I,
yeah,
about, just the debt that is I mean, the US is going to run another $2 trillion
I know,
of debt. Eric, in the month of May alone, the US added 316 billion. I did the math. That's
I know, shocking.
$116,000 a second.
Yeah,
Goodness
shocking. The
gracious.
big number, and it was way up from the previous year, right? It was up probably like 50% from the previous year for the
Still
month.
just keep moving
Yeah,
higher.
crazy. And that big beautiful bill. I mean, when you start, getting to the bottom line, that big beautiful bill is going to cause a big beautiful increase in the deficit too,
Yeah, for
beyond
sure.
probably 2 billion.
Yep. So the
So
fundamentals
something.
the fundamentals remain outside of just the economic and monetary fundamentals, outside of the physical
Yeah,
fundamentals for the
yeah.
metal. Um, any last words of wisdom you'd
Well,
pass on to everybody?
I would say that the fundamentals are being allowed to manifest themselves now in the markets. Okay.
Yeah.
You can see what's going on, that all these people are buying, all these institutions are buying gold.
Hmm.
People are taking gold and silver off both the LBMA and the COMEX every day. The outlook for more production is like almost nothing. Mines, of course, they do run out of metal, right? So you always have some mines have to shut down because they've mined them out. But you better be looking to find more and get them in a process of developing it. So let's take free gold. I mean, it might be 10 years before we get an ounce out of free gold. If you have to go through the whole process, build the whole goddamn thing, takes a long time. So it's not as though the cavalry's coming to the rescue here yet. So that will all play into the hands of these smaller companies that have nice ore bodies, good pricing. The shares have a long runway in front of them, in my mind.
Which gives us a lot more chance in the future to visit and keep everybody up to date. It's always so much fun to talk to you, my old friend. I know we don't do it as frequently as we used to, but I know
And
everybody sure values the time that you do spend bringing us up to date. And like we always do, I just very much
yeah,
appreciate you taking the time to talk today.
yeah, thank you. I feel like my exuberance is a little bit justified now.
Yeah, you think?
It's going
You
pretty
know,
good.
we mentioned a couple of your stocks. There are people on Twitter, and that CEO.ca, that
Yeah,
Canadian website, aren't there
CEO
folks on
that.
there
Yeah,
that try to keep track of everything that you're doing?
yeah. I think somebody on X does. I think it's called Sprott Folio,
Are
and
those mostly accurate, do you think?
yeah, I think they're accurate. They know
Okay,
exactly what I own, and they
there
know
you go.
exactly what those things have gone up by in a year or
So,
6 months. So it's been a reasonably good year so far.
hey, you want to find out more of what Eric owns and what he's looking at and what he's adding to and all that kind of stuff? There are sources out there that people have done this work for you.
Yeah.
So, go for it.
Okay, man.
The other thing I'd want to just remind everybody, it is still mid-June. We've still got more content coming this month. We'll wrap up. It's really, Eric, we didn't even talk about this. What an important month the next couple of days are going to be because we stand
Oh,
on the precipice of maybe the highest monthly close of all
yeah.
times, maybe even the highest quarterly close of all time.
Yeah.
The significance
I,
of that for
I
price. What do you?
I should have warned people of something. The calls that are in the money, calls that are in the money on SLV are monstrous.
Yes,
Now
I was going to
that's
say
not a good
yesterday.
thing.
Yeah,
That's not a good thing, okay?
right.
Because the guy on the other side of it is the banker, okay? He's going to work to get that thing down for June 30th, okay? It's quarter end, but he's got so much money on the table that if this silver thing keeps going up, he's going to be in big trouble. I think we might have 100 million shares of calls on SLV expiring on the 30th of the month.
And,
So
and
it could be wild and crazy.
there's some here this coming Friday, the monthly New York Stock
Fair chunk.
Exchange expiration,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then the end of the quarter and the end of the month in London, all that stuff. But again, boy, Eric, the significance of a new, gosh, if somehow it does, new quarterly all-time
Oh yeah.
high,
Oh yeah.
that would be significant, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it just shows, like, in fact, in the case of silver, if it closes at I think something like 37.58.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yep.
pointed this out, that it
Yep.
would be a quarterly record high. No, it
Yes.
would be forever record high close
Yes.
for a month, for a
Yes.
month. Because those two times they did 50, of course, it went right down immediately
Right.
because they worked it over, right?
Yeah.
They didn't close at 50. The high close was 37.58, I think. So we got a few days to see whether we can make it. Unfortunately, the last day of the month is going to be could be chaotic.
Well,
We'll
and
see.
unfortunately, if I can see this and you can see this,
Yeah, I don't do
um,
anything about it. I try to ride it out. Okay, I can't be moving stuff around like that. In
yeah.
fact, I'll probably try to be a buyer of silver on June 30th
Yeah.
at 3:30 in the afternoon
Hmm.
if they're knocking it down.
Hmm. It
Yeah,
happened this last month, very first trading day of the month of June.
yeah. Boom
So,
shakalaka. Yeah.
yeah. All right, my old friend. Always good to see you
Okay.
again. I want to remind everybody to thank Sprott Money for this content, to subscribe on whatever channel you've been watching this, because there's going to be more content coming still this month and next month and every month after that. You don't want to miss any of it. But for now, it's time to sign off. Eric, thank you so much. It's always so fun to visit with you.
Hey, great. Good to chat again, and good luck to all our listeners.
Yes, thank you. And from all of us at Sprott Money, sprottmoney.com, thanks for watching. And we'll have more content for you still later this month.